best to describe Minestarters as we're a fintech business in the commodity space, and we are looking to transform, the mining finance or the early stage project finance business through the tokenization of those that portfolio, diversified portfolio of mining projects. What that means is that really we're leveraging blockchain as a decentralized finance network. It's an enabling technology that connects capital pools. And through the use of that technology and connecting those capital pools, we think we can raise substantial funding for these early stage projects in a way that has hitherto been quite difficult to do. And I've seen over the years how technology can unlock these kinds of opportunities. And when I met Marcel Nally, who was the founder and part of the story, the Moshiko story, who has a lot of experience of growing these businesses, and of course Sean and the Power Metals crystallization successes they've had, the ones he's just listed. When you look at it, bringing those two things together, all the USPs we have, plus the enabling capabilities in a market that's super hot in terms of tokenization, it just looks like a very compelling proposition. From a decentralized finance perspective, what this means is that you get accessibility from pretty much anywhere in the world, 24/7, and you can pretty much trade 24/7 from all kinds of geographies globally. And so it's really a sea change in the way that traditional finance works. I mean, outside of the mining community, what we're seeing here is and some people have described it as one of the biggest revolutions for 100 years in traditional finance. And I think the vision of Mark and Sean to take this to market now is tremendous, because it's a first mover advantage, and it allows us to take a position in the white space in the mining commodity sector that nobody else has done. And it's tremendously exciting.
The challenge is that the lead time to develop copper deposits is incredibly long. It is longer than most legislators would imagine. It is also to a large degree influenced by legislators. So how hard or how easy is it to basically get a mining permit? How attractive is it to pursue mining activities in the countries, given the whole regime around royalties or maybe other barriers to operate? There are a lot of considerations as well on becoming self-sufficient. So we see lots of projects going ahead with which do not look that great commercially, but which are primarily also driven by the desire of individual countries to be more self-sufficient with critical material supply. China is a great example for this. We all see China often as a monopoly for critical material, but when it comes to copper, I mean, they are a net importer of copper. They depend on other countries to provide that super important material to them. And there are plans ahead to basically go into pretty challenging deposits, both from a location point of view, but then also from an ore quality point of view, just to at least reduce this dependency. So that is also happening in the market. So geopolitical environment is not always negative. It is also driving additional investments. What we have seen in other critical material areas such as lithium is that end users are getting more engaged. I was referring to copper as a commodity, and commodity typically implies that it is readily available in the market. Now that we're apparently running into a short supply, you can imagine, and again, we have seen this in other critical materials, that end users with a high interest are making direct investments, are putting their own stakes. And I think that can also help to accelerate the exploration of new deposits. I'm an economist by training, so I believe that markets in the end will equal out one way or the other. Sometimes it might be ugly for some of the players. We might have to get prepared for rising commodity prices as well, but I think ultimately it will equal.
Is there a potential to reach that 3 million and go beyond that?
Yeah, there's certainly potential to do that. I mean, there's a common saying in the game that the first 1 million ounces you find are the easiest 1 million ounces. So going from 2 to 3 won't be easy. But as I touched on, that the deposit is open in all directions. We have significant hits. In some instances, there's one particular hole with approximately 50 metres at a gram, around 500 metres south of the existing resource. We've now linked Tenera to Tenera East. So basically there's 3 parallel ridges. We've linked the central ridge Tenera with the eastern ridge Tenera East. There's significant potential out to the east to move that 500 700 plus meters to the east. So it's a well mineralized ridge, and we'd like to connect that up in the next 12 to 24 months. So it's simple step out expansional drilling, Mink, Drone Hill to Tenera, and there's certainly a pathway to well beyond 3 million ounces in a single deposit. The second leg of that is to test the multiple regional targets that the team have worked up over the last 18 months. We have a 30 plus kilometre gold corridor. What I mean by that is outcropping anomalous gold along that entire 30 kilometres. In some areas, it's up to 5 kilometres wide. So we're very confident that within that 30 kilometre corridor, there are other deposits.
I think the starting point, and this is where we've seen a lot of the great examples, is to define what the end state looks like. So what kind of organization do I envisage with all of this infrastructure in place so that I have something to aim for? Because otherwise you end up just almost randomly picking, a sort of grouping of technologies and platforms and everything that you need without actually having a clear vision of, how transformed technologically do you want to be ultimately? And what are the steps required between now and then to actually make sure that I can get there? So I think the first one is understanding where you're heading and how the organization will run once that's in place. The next one would be prioritizing high value cases, and we spoke about that earlier. So it's got to be about the pursuit of value. Find the areas where there's going to be improvement. Find the areas where there's going to be immediate benefit to the organization, because I think that helps with building momentum around the organization. The third big one I'd say is invest in foundations that looks after your data. Look at the interoperability of systems, look at cloud platforms, look at analytics pipelines. So we don't create these silos in the organization where everyone's trying to do their own thing around data, and that I have one common pool where I can draw data from if I want to drive advanced analytics, etc. And then I think the fourth most important one is drive capability building. Get people up to speed, ensure that your operators and technicians and everyone co-owns these solutions as you implement them.
We didn't know how it would go. We jumped in with both feet, and we just blasted this out to as many Canadians as we could. We crafted the best stories that we could, and lo and behold, it's bloody well taken off. We've reached well over 1 million Canadians. We know that over 60,000 have officially signed up. You don't even have to officially sign up. We'll make that very clear. You just read the clues and go find it. But if you sign up, it's in your best interest, because you get an extra clue, and you're on the email list, and you get updates and that sort of thing. So over 60,000 people did that. Over 200,000 people have been on that website, individual users, not repeat. So we've hit the general media. I've been reached out to by TV and radio and the general media here in Canada, and people are just loving the story. They're getting really excited. We already had our first winner. We had someone find 6 1-ounce gold coins, so worth over $30,000. A woman in Yukon went out in her car with her little kids, and they found it. They found the treasure chest. Once you find the treasure chest, there's a code. You tell us the code, and we give you the coins. And there's another 11 of those ones. And then there's the Grand Poobah, which is 217 gold coins. That was provided by Nico Eagle, Sean Boyd. And that's worth over $1 million, worth $1.1 million. That's still out there somewhere.
What you're seeing in the market today is that people are interested in the copper thematic. And there's probably no story like what we're doing at Cyprium to engage, around brownfield. Means that we're less capital intensive. Brownfield also means that we are quick to the mark because we have things that are built and we have things that are permitted. Then our phased development plan means that we're taking sensible risk piece by piece. So for us, the key to unlocking this next phase is to deliver the first piece well. And if we deliver the first piece well, that we think that earns us the mandate to, one, it gets us cash flow that will be helpful in building the next parts of our life. And then the second is that it, sort of completes the mission that we outlined to investors when they came on board recently in this equity raise. And so with that, if we want to go back to market, we'll be in a much stronger position having executed with current cash flow. Outside of that, I would say, Rob, that the nature of the copper markets are changing. There's a lot of strategic interest from copper end users. copper is becoming much more political. So there's interest from parastatal kind of government owned entities, and you're seeing that happen across the rare earth space as well. We think that that will start to happen in copper as well, where people are looking at where's our copper going to come
I have
from.
to say antimony is a deeply critical mineral, essential for a variety of things, none the least of which are flame retardants, semiconductors, and sunshine. It may not be known, but sunshine actually has deep roots in the antimony story. During World War II, the Sunshine Mine was among the largest domestic sources of antimony in the United States, both on the mining side as well as the processing and refining side. So in many ways, we're not entering into this story for the first time, Rob. We're restoring a capability of America that they once had and lost. And the U.S. currently imports almost all of its antimony today, roughly 80% coming from China and Russia, creating a serious supply chain vulnerability. That vulnerability intensified significantly late last year when China, as you know, banned exports of antimony to the United States. So our planned refinery will now have the capacity to deliver a meaningful share of total U.S. demand, directly helping to alleviate that dependence and anchor really a domestic refining solution for the United States. But happy to report it's not just about a critical mineral of antimony. The Sunshine Mine will also boost U.S. silver supply by roughly 20% once back into production. So while antimony may be the headline-grabbing critical mineral, Sunshine's role extends further beyond that, and we're really helping to secure supply of two key essential metals to both energy transition as well as national security.
I think the most interesting thing about it was it's rare you will find a project where you can take it from feasibility study to production in a very, very compressed timeline. So one of the most interesting thing was it takes everything I've done in the industry and it compresses it in a really short space of time and gets us to production. And I guess last but not least, it's in the UK, which I mean, I live in Cornwall and I see the history of mining all around me. I want to make it the current mining production operational part of southwest England. And I see us as being a real trailblazer in that too. So it gives me an opportunity to reintroduce mining production back to the southwest, which is where I live. I want to see productive, environmentally compliant, good operating mining projects happening in the southwest that bring jobs, employment, development to the region, because that's my home as well. So I guess put all those things together, and it's an amazing opportunity.